Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How you doing? It's Big P here, the voice of hardcore boxing. Today, I'm joined by my good friend and founder of Porky's Corner with me, Rico from London. How you doing, Rico?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Boxing world has been shook up. It's a precocious situation for us to be in, isn't it?
Listen, what I want to know, Rico, is this: when's Bean and company man Nelson going to be queuing at the food banks?
I'm sure they'll find another gig on Sky, maybe the darts or something else.
I don't know what's happening with Weald at the moment, but so basically, what we're being told is Eddie Hearn signed a 5-year deal with DAZN, 400 grand a week. Is that true?
So I think with this Mike Coppinger piece, just trying to dig it up quickly because for some reason it seems like it's disappeared. Yep. Nope. Yep. No, it's here. So DAZN has signed an exclusive deal with Matchroom Boxing, and that includes the UK fights. They obviously had the US deal. Um, this is a 5-year deal, 9 figures, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And it ends the relationship with Sky. The only stipulations are that Joshua and wife will not be on that deal. So if they want to get those guys to fight on the zone, at least in the UK, they'd have to do separate deals. And I assume that's because Joshua and White have their own deals with Sky Boxing. So this means that Sky does not have a promoter uh, for their boxing platform, and it's not sure whether Sky will be continuing to invest in boxing outside of those few pay-per-view events.
Was the writing on the wall a year ago when we saw Bean do a refresher course on darts commentating? Did Bean see the bigger picture? Because I'm going to tell a little story about Bean in a minute. But did Bean see this? Did he think I need to look after myself here?
I think everybody saw it, right? Because DAZN, the moment Sky or Matchroom struck that deal with DAZN, they were flying out the UK fighters to fight on the US shows. Joshua was fighting over there. That wasn't a relationship where it made necessarily sense. And especially when DAZN expanded to the UK earlier this year, it was just clear that you can't be working for two paymasters, and their business models are so different as well. So DAZN doesn't do pay-per-views; it's a subscription model. Yeah. So how does that work with some of these bigger fights?
Do you feel that Adam Smith, with his reputation, because let's not be, he's not behind the door here. When Adam Smith were at Sky and Dennis Hobson was the main promoter at Setanta, we're going back 12 years, aren't we now? Dennis had all the dates. He even sold dates to Frank Warren. He had that many. And he had more dates than Frank. But Adam Smith was ringing Dennis up. He was really upset. Dennis, can you get me on at Setanta? Can you get me on at Setanta? You know, when he was apparently having beef with Chris Brown, the head guy at Sky. And Adam Smith was thinking, I could be going here. But Adam Smith worked it and he got rid of Chris Brown, didn't he? So he's a ruthless little so-and-so. But do you think Adam Smith was looking after himself a year ago, thinking, I need to think on my feet here. That's why he jumped over to darts. And do you think there might not be any boxing in the Sky now, Rico?
Yeah, I think the boxing will probably be sort of bits and pieces. So you might have the Joshua fights, the White fights. You probably have, if the World Boxing Super Series comes back, you might have that. And then maybe you have MTK Golden Contract, but I don't think it's going to be like a regular stream. It's just going to be odd fights here and there, and they're just going to pick the ones they want to sort of invest in and, the types of fights. And so, what obviously a big difference is when you tie up a deal with a promoter is you're tying up this deal, but you don't know what they're serving on the other side.
Yeah.
Which they haven't been serving good stuff recently, but actually what they'll be serving now is Sky will be like buying specific fights and specific events. So if it's Golden Contract, you know who's in, who's going to fight against who.
Yeah. So basically, who is at fault here? Is it Barney Francis, Bean, and all of them for giving Eddie Hearn the big exclusive?
I don't think it's necessarily at fault. I mean, look, the boxing probably hasn't done the numbers recently that it would have done because the fights haven't been there. So I think they are fault for not having quality control, which means that, you know, Ed Robinson, Bean, Barney Francis before he left Sky, that they allowed the quality of the product to go down that much that, you know, people lost interest. So they have faults, and also they have fault for not being forceful enough with Eddie and basically allowing him to run his US stuff at the expense of Sky in the UK.
Yeah, exciting times ahead, but not for Bean. It looks like Bean's on his way out then, does it? Or
well, if they still have the pay-per-view stuff, and there's still talks about this idea if Joshua Fury does land, that would be on Sky and BT in the UK and ESPN on the US. So it's not, you know, there will be the odd boxing thing here and there, but I think for him, it's like he'll probably end up doing a bit of another sport and boxing on the side.
what do you think the knock-on effect will be for people like, you know, Eddie's little club, you know, IFL, Boxing Social, Michelle Phelps behind the gloves, all them little gimps. What will happen with them? Will they be a little bit dubious about doing stuff with Sky and not being in Eddie's pocket? Are we going to see a difference with all them bum lickers?
I don't think they'll be dubious of doing stuff with Sky because they know Sky, and you know Sky has always granted them good relationships. But you know, DAZN is a content company, right? They will want to be doing their own stuff, and you know they'll be wanting to do their interviews with the fighters, and they'll be wanting to be the only source where a lot of the stuff comes in and out. So they might have less control on who they can interview, and it might not be the same clubby mentality because the zone aren't, you know, they don't want views to be driven by these guys. They want views on the zone platform and their own YouTube channel. So I think it might be harder for them to gain access.
What do you think is going to happen to them roadman killers? Campbell Hatton, Conor Benn, people like that, and all the other people in Eddie's stable. You know, your Martin J. Wards and people like that. What do you think to all that?
So I think it's a double-edged sword. So if you think about Sky, right, they've got schedules that are very jam-packed for each week and so forth. So what that means is that, you know, boxing isn't the central thing to their schedule, whereas with DAZN as a streaming platform, they can run lots of different shows and they can have a more packed calendar. So I think with DAZN, they'll probably try and do like a fight every weekend. So there might be more opportunities. But the challenge with DAZN tends to be that if you go to sponsors and you say, I'll be on Sky Sports versus I'll be on DAZN, that's a big difference. I mean, you bet off, you know, most sponsors will know that if you say that I'm going to be on Eurosport, that means more than being on DAZN because most people outside of boxing have never even heard of DAZN.
Yeah, it's...
I don't think it's necessary. You know, it's good for the boxers in the sense that they'll get more fights, but I don't think it necessarily grows British boxing bringing it to DAZN. You know, you have the biggest promoter going on to a platform that nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah. I mean, already, somebody just sent me a text here, someone who was in the know. Steffi Bull apparently has told Eddie and whatever Eddie wants to do, he just wants to work with Eddie. He'll just go with the flow with what Eddie says. I mean, can't these people think for themselves? I mean, whatever happened to, well, I'll have to speak to my fighters and see what's on the table. What if Sky offers Steffi Bull a deal with his fighters? And are they all going to just jump with Eddie now, aren't they? Because they're frightened.
Of course they are, mate. Of course they are.
Embarrassing, isn't it, from Steffi Bull?
Yeah, but I was tweeting about this yesterday. So if we think about it, they bind the Matchroom stable without Joshua and White. So what are you actually buying, right? You're buying Katie Taylor, Coley,
Terry Harper.
Who else are you buying then? Like
Gavin McDonnell.
Yeah. But also with Joshua, if you think about Buat is going to be there, but Joshua is going to have to build his own undercards for his Sky shows. White's going to build his. So all the guys underneath these guys, they will end up not necessarily being on the DAZN platform. So you have Eddie will have to go and drive to sign more fighters in the UK to make it interesting.
Who's let Eddie get away with all this though? Because this is how I'm a bit sceptical about this. You know, Adam Smith, he comes across nice and all that, but when I heard about him trying to do a double deal when he were at Sky, trying to get into Setanta, basically it all goes back to my video 18 months ago, which was entitled "Every Man for Themselves," and they were all on the thumbnail. They were all jumping ship. Do you remember, Rico?
Yeah.
And everybody said, "Pocky, you're a hater. You're a hater." Why am I a hater? It's common knowledge that they all look after themselves, don't they? All of them. It's human nature. Humans are creatures of habit. We've all got mortgages to pay, haven't they? But this is how I look at it, right? Adam Smith was the head of Sky Boxing. Whether he is now or not, I don't know. It's all a bit murky, whether it's Simple in Strings or Ed Robinson and Barney Francis is now at Matchroom. Well, fair enough on that, blah, blah, blah. But who has been letting Eddie Hearn for the last 18 months get away with murder with these shows? Because the product is watered down. You look on BoxRec, it has gold stars ratings for each fight. They've hardly had any gold stars, have they, for the matching they've been doing? We know boxing. We know what matching is. We know what's a good fight and what isn't. So for 18 months, the product's gone downhill. But the fans know it. The casuals don't know it because Eddie's just out there drowning out everybody with interview after interview after interview. And if you repeat something and say something enough, sooner or later, it becomes gospel. It's a bit like Danny Dyer, isn't it? If you go on Amazon and try and buy a film, you've got Danny Dyer in all these awful films. But sooner or later, he's known as an actor. Do you see where I'm coming from? But all he does as an actor is play himself, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like Vinnie Jones, they're not actors. So the point I want to make is that the product's been watered down, but did they turn around to Bean and say, "Look, Bean, we'll take you to Sky, but we're just going to have to get through these next 18 months, choppy waters. I'm Eddie here and I'll ride out the storm, but only the hardcores are going to complain. The casuals are putting in my hand. We've got all these YouTubers in our back pocket. We'll bring Gareth A. Davis on board. We'll give him a little bit of a role at the Zone and pundit work. Never had a fight in his life. We'll give certain people in media favours and carte blanche, and they'll report favourably for us. We're the only ones that have not bought into that, aren't we? Am I right?
That's right. Yeah, correct.
So, has he been allowed to run riot for 18 months to see that contract out? Yes or no?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you can't deny that. I also think maybe the contract wasn't watertight enough. They allowed him to seal it, sign a deal with another promoter. I can't see, for example, Bob Arum coming here and signing a deal with ITV or whoever it might be. Like, it's just not going to be allowed to happen, is it?
No, it ain't, no.
But we've been paying for this. The people have been paying for pay-per-view. We've been stomaching this. So I hope there's light at the end of the tunnel where it means that we have better shows and there's more money to make decent fights, and the Zone may be a bit more stringent and expecting their fighters the guys fighting the platform to have these better fights, because the Zone need to drive up the numbers, and the only way they can do that is because they're not propped up by football or other sports like Sky. So the only way they can do that is by having really good fights on the platform that make people subscribe.
Do you feel that Bob Arum and Bricktop, do you feel that what they'll do now is they'll just put the Joshua Fury fight on hold just to teach Eddie Hearn a lesson?
I think there's a lot of moving pieces on that fight, and I think if they could have made that fight, they might have done, but I'm not sure whether they want to make it or whether Fury doesn't want to make it or Joshua doesn't want to make it. But it's not, Eddie makes money regardless if that fight happens.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a way that Eddie loses out of this. It's Sky that loses out of this. But it's a way out for Sky from boxing, and I think they've been looking for that for a while.
Yeah, and what will happen with the snooker and the darts and the football? I mean, everything's up in the air, isn't it, at the moment?
I think the football contract still has a bit of time to run. I think Sky will continue to invest in the football because that's really what's driving their subscription numbers. Darts and snooker, I wouldn't be surprised when those contracts end if Matchroom take all of their business to DAZN and that becomes sort of the exclusive broadcasting partner of Matchroom. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. And I think that would make sense for them just dealing with one broadcaster.
Did you watch Ultratech's video last night?
No, I did not, but I will watch that shortly.
Well, I fell asleep halfway through it, so I'm going to watch that again now. And our good friend Terry's just done one on the Beautiful podcast.
Yeah, he's done a podcast. Yeah, I was chatting to him last night, and he said he's going to jump in the booth and do one. So I look forward to that as well.
Jump in the what? Bath?
Booth.
Booth.
Like,
Oh, has he got a booth at home?
No, he doesn't have a booth, but you know.
Oh, he's just chatting. Nobody's rocking it like Porky, are they?
Yeah.
All right then. Well,
yeah, I think fundamentally this is probably a good thing for British boxing, and the reason I say that is DAZN doesn't have pay-per-views, one thing. The other thing is that the whole Sky Matchroom thing was just it was painful towards the end, and at least we've come to a situation where hopefully it will reinvigorate Eddie and the team, and they'll make better fights and sign fighters, and you know they'll work with other promoters more. So we can only hope that's going to happen, because I think the whole last few months or last 6-12 months were really killing boxing because the product was so trash.
Cold trash? It can't get any worse, can it?
Exactly. So hopefully this is a sign that things can get a bit better.
What do you think is going to happen to people like Tony Bellew, Spencer Oliver, Carl Froch?
They'll all be begging. I'm not sure about Froch, but you know, Bellew will be begging for a job on DAZN. So the other thing that Coppinger reported is that there'll be a completely new broadcast team that they'll be putting together, and I'd like to see some new faces, and hopefully this means that a lot of the people on Sky just don't get any more broadcast deals, and they won't be on our screens. But they haven't done a good job in the US with Chris Mannix and Sergio Mora, so I hope that they can do a better job over here.
Gareth Adel Davis.
Exactly, so don't get him anywhere.
Well, I think that Carl Froch will end up at DAZN. That's what I think. Little Porky Top Gear top tip for you. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. Whether the others will, I don't know, but the rimming from Tony Bellew in the last 2 years has been out of control, coming out with things like, we've signed. We? Who's this we? Are you Matchroom? Are you Sky? Are you we? All this we from a man who'll never beat a champion. So I want to see Bellew at the food bank queue, Bean at the food bank queue, Nelson, Juggies, Spencer Oliver. I want to see all them head for Skid Row now. That's what I want to see, mate. Skid Row. That's what I want to see. And I'm glad Spencer Fearon's had the last laugh on them all. And he's got his son well in at MTK now, hasn't he, Spencer? And to be honest with you, he's half all right, isn't he, doing that little role that they've given.
Yeah, I think it's quite good. Yeah, I think it's, you know what, he's always known boxing. Like, nobody can say that he hasn't, but he had a bit too much hyperbole back in the day. So I think with this role, he's actually quite good ringside commentator.
Yeah.
But I hope they give new people a shot, like, because it's a new broadcasting team. They don't have to settle on it straight away, so they can give people a shot. I'd love to see Clinton McKenzie, Duke McKenzie, doing some commentating. I think he was really good on ITV.
Clinton McKenzie, Duke McKenzie, sorry. I'd like to see Duke McKenzie in a role. Yep. I'd like to see Nazim Ahmed in a role as well.
I don't know. Naz is a bit of a loose cannon, isn't he?
Well, that's what you want. Nazim Ahmed, Carl Froch, Duke McKenzie. I don't want to see Richie Woodall. No. I don't want to see him doing anything. No. I don't want to see the people that I've mentioned, the men whose names are not worth mentioning. I don't want to see bum licking. I don't want to see rimming. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see away fighter punching home fighter all night And all I'm talking about is how the home fighter's blocking every shot when he isn't. I don't want to see that. I want to see some proper reporting. But that's from the pundits. But the commentators, I want to hear silence. I don't want to hear Bean going on about so-and-so and so-and-so, and he's just come back from the lakes where he loves weekend camping, or what about the other one of the week? And he's just showed me his design for his next tattoo. It's a spider's web, and it's going to be going over his elbow. What sort of commentating is that? Oh, drives me mad.
I'd like to know more about Josh Warrington's stamp collection. I think that's a key thing.
Oh, my God. Do you know what I watched? Do you know what I watched? Right, listen to this. I watched Muhammad Ali last night against George Foreman. They were hardly speaking through the commentating. They hardly spoke. And then when they did it, because something was happening in the fight, they say, hey, Ali, now he's coming on strong. And look, point I want to make is, I don't want to hear about stamp collections or weekend camping or tattoo designs of spiders' webs on people's elbows. I don't want to hear about that, Rico, do you?
No, but I'd like to see Paulie Malignaggi back on. I'd like to see Natasha Jonas whenever she...
Yeah, I want to see Natasha Jonas on my screen every boxing show. That's what I want to see, mate. Because if I were 15 years younger, I'd be around there with a bunch of flowers. Do you know what I mean?
I'd like to see Paulie Malignaggi, another one. I'd like to see him.
Who?
Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah. And also, not only would I go around with flowers, I'd take her a box of milk tray from Dave's Corner Shop round here. $4.95 in sale.
I mean, Joe watches this stuff, so I'm sure he'll pass on the message to
Waitrose Joe will be watching this, and he'll tell Natasha. And
no, it's Sportsman Masons, Joe, these days.
It's what?
Sportsman Masons.
Yeah, no, Harrods, Joe. I mean, got CV Joe Gallagher's got. I mean, I was looking last night. I was counting up all champions he's had. Nobody has got even a third of the champions he's had in the last 18 years. Do you know that? Nobody's got a third. Not a third from area level English British all the way up. Not a third. And he's only won in 100-year history to win Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year from UK, innit? And he's been treated like a dog, hasn't he, lately?
Yeah, you know what? I'd actually like to see him. He's obviously a busy man and has lots of fighters, but if he ever wanted, I think he'd be quite a good sort of trainer to be there. I often prefer to have trainers rather than boxers on ringside, because actually trainers, just because you've been in the ring and been punched in the head doesn't always mean that you understand the game, but trainers tend to have a good understanding of the game. So I'd like to see more trainers in there. And I'd like to see like a mix. I don't want to see the same set of people always. I'd like to see a bit of a mix every show, like one or two new people or different faces. I
had a late night with Glenn McCrory once back at an hotel in Sheffield with Dennis, and a very late one actually. And Glenn McCrory said to me, he thought Joe Gallagher were a fantastic, ringside analysis guy. He said, he really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's comfortable in front of a camera, isn't he? Obviously,
he'll say what he thinks. That's all we want. He'll say what he thinks.
Yeah, like an Ian Dark and people like that. Paul Dempsey's another one. These are all good boxing people, these, Mm-hmm. But then we have to put up with Gareth A. Davis, Chris Lloyd, Darren Barker. Is Darren Barker going to go against the grain? No, he isn't, is he? Because he's married into somebody from Matchroom, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's not going to go against the grain, is he?
Yeah, and I also think that, a lot of it's a different art commentating, isn't it? You trained and you do it on the radio, you do the broadcast and other stuff. I actually like Mike Costello quite a lot. I think Mike Costello is another one, but he's probably more radio rather than TV. But
yeah,
you need guys that actually know what they're doing in the commentating.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, yeah, you do. And you know what? The funny thing is, everything I've been screaming about for the last few years, it's all come to fruition now. And you know what? Some emails I'm getting now, even people around here with businesses and units have come up to me this morning and said, "You were right, Porky." I'm always right, mate. I'm always right. Somebody come up to me and they said, Pokey, you're famous now, aren't you? With your channel and that. I said, listen, sweetheart, I've been famous since I was 15. You know what I mean? Where I live. But no, we've been calling it, haven't we?
Yeah, that's true. And I think the writing's been on the wall, but a lot of people have just, believed whatever's been told on IFL and these other channels. And I think that's the problem with boxing. And hopefully we have a new dawn. I wonder, this is going to be the interesting thing. How are people going to approach this on their Sunday sermons and regular interviews and chats? Because most of them are going to be, what's Dave Caldwell going to say?
Well, they don't know what to say now, do they, Dave Caldwell? Come see me, you little weirdo.
That's going to be interesting.
They don't know what to say now. They don't know where to go, do they? Because they don't know what's happening. Well, like I said to you the other day, you people like your Dave Caldwells, your Steffi Bulls, people like that, they hitch the ride up to somebody and they deal with, Tony Sims as well, they deal with one camp. The landscape can change just like that in boxing, just like it did last week in football. The landscape can change very quickly and you can be out in the cold. So these Sunday sermon, like your Caldwells, your Ben Davidsons, your Dominic Ingalls, your Shane McGuigans, they all jump in with these sermons and say this and that, but they can come unstuck, can't they? Now, you might not see as many sermons because they don't know which way to go, do they? Because they don't fly straight, do they? Mm-hmm. They fly in one camp. But the good thing is, you watch people come out at woodwork now and hitch the ride with other people, and then there's going to be twists and turns. There's going to be a lot of people with egg on the face. There's going to be some two-faced people and genuine arse lickers. People with their tongues up people's hula hoop. That's what you're going to get, and they're going to be embarrassed. But you're going to see cringeworthy interviews. But I think these people now, the little cult of bean masons, the bean masons, I think they're that far removed from reality. I don't think they even care. I think it's a little cult where they're all sniggering, like Beavis and Butthead, like that, because they think it's good, don't they? They don't care for fans. They care for themselves. And these sort of people remind me of some people that I went to a massive trial, right? A few years ago. I've had trials, that, don't you? Long trials. People used to come to my trials and sit back at court like it were a day at the youth club or going to pub. And I always said, one day when I get out, I'm going to go to a trial. I went to a 3-week trial and I sat and watched it every day. I was sat back at court with sandwiches and a flask. I was like, that, this is great, this. When you're not in dock yourself or sat with your fingers crossed behind your back, your toes and your legs and your heart and your balls and everything crossed. I would have sat it back like that, chewing gum, flask, sandwiches. Oh, this is good. Cheese and Branston. They were loving it. And I sat and watched. And do you know what they did? I saw people, and this conspiracy trial, they turned on their own people. This is people who've grown up together. When the push come to the push, and they were going to get some off that judge. And let me tell you, they got some all right, mate. They got plenty. But the ones that turned didn't get as much as the ones who kept their mouth shut. A bit like me with what I got my time for. But my friends, I kept them all out of it, didn't I? Do you know what I mean? But not everybody were like me. They all didn't want to be heroes, did they? So I sat and watched, and I thought, I've known him 20 years. I've known him 10 years. And look at them squirm. And do you know this lot, Rico, now? They're all going to squirm because they all want the money. They're not all in a good position like Carl Froch, are they, who can take it or leave it. You're going to see squirming. And do you know what we're going to call these people in a future video? The Squirminators!
I think on that note, we can probably end this. I'm sure you'll do like a porky trip around the houses talking about the same when Joshua lost and you had that celebration for a few years.
Yeah, well, we will, mate. Well, listen, mate, it's not every day we get to laugh at this shower of shite. But I want to see them all squirm, and I want to see Bean at the Foodbanks queuing for a tin of soup and a tin of treacle, Heinz treacle.
A tin of baked beans. A tin of baked
beans on toast. Would have been, could have been, should have been, never been, baked bean, creepy bean, beanie. Rumpelstiltskin and that computer in, and you, Gareth A. Davis. I'm going into one now, aren't I? That Costa coffee's gone to my head, hasn't it? Free Costa coffee. I've drank myself to death with it last 3 days.
All right, mate. Good
Right,
chatting
listen.
to you.
Peace out, Rico. Keep on trucking, keep sporting boxing.
Porky's Corner, always right.
Don't have nightmares.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye.
I left you ad-libbing there for you to say don't have nightmares, Rico, and you missed it.
All right. Next time, mate.
All right. Have a good weekend, kid.
Take care.
See you, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that were my good friend Rico. A little bit of comedy at end for you there. Look, we all want boxing to be in a good, healthy spot, in a good, healthy place, don't we? That's what we want, more than anything. But what I personally don't want, I don't want this cult of the Bean Masons. I don't want them riding roughshod over fans, you know, bigging home fighters up, disrespecting away fighters, and generally just being cheerleaders. We all saw what happened with Derek Chisora against Alexander Usyk. Derek Chisora got took to school and then he got took to university by Alexander Usyk. Right? We've got Tony Bellew and Dave Colwell shouting robbery. Why? Because the Chisora's pals, aren't they? Right? I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a Tony Bellew jumping up like that, like a raving lunatic. They backtracked, didn't they, on it? But I don't want to see that. I want to see professionalism. I want to see an away fighter come in, and if he starts knocking a matchroom fighter about, I want the pundits to call it. That's what I want. I want the pundits to call it. I want it to be fair. I want to see a different mixture of pundits. I want to see it rotated. I want to see it shared out. I don't want it to be jobs for the boys where everybody's going to sit there hanging out at everybody's hoop. I don't want to see that. I want to see transparency. I want to see proper punditry because they're feeding it back to us. Because otherwise, I'm just going to sit there with mute button on. That's what I'm going to do. So, okie dokie. So I think that's about it, really. I had a good one there with Rico. Good 5, what we had here, 20. Good 40 minutes. So, okay, I've got Mickey Theo coming on now. 11:30. Plenty of time. It's only 9:25. So I've got a bit of time now before Mick comes. I think I might just head next door into the gym. I might do a Lee Priest tricep workout. So Mick's giving me a few tips on triceps, but so it's exciting times ahead, isn't it? It's exciting times ahead here for us here. We've got some news coming out soon, but I keep it under wraps at the moment. So big shout out to Dennis. How are you doing? Now you're watching, Den. Still waiting for you to come round, Den. Plenty Costa coffee, plenty bottles of water. We've got smoothies in the fridge. We've got coffee, tea, milk, sugar. You're welcome. You're welcome. Cash Ali, come and see me, Cash. I went by your house this morning, give you a pip. You were probably training at gym. So that's about it, really. That's about it. So don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button below. Exciting times. I'm looking forward to it. Let's hope that they start putting on proper fights. That's all we want, isn't it? Proper fights. So I've dug this out today. What do you think? This is an old school. Big Vern 44. That's when I was ruthless on Twitter. Well, we don't do Twitter now. Our IP addresses is banned. So Robbie Reed, give me a ring. All right. So okay. So that's about it, really. Big shout out to Frank from Bury. You know what? I tried to get into my computer for about half an hour this morning and it wouldn't have it. Do you know what it were? Caps lock. I missed that one. Peace out.